Welcome everybody. I just want to do a quick check just to make sure you can actually hear me, as that would be a fantastic start. If you guys don't mind just putting something in the chat box for me, just so I know that you can hear what I'm saying. Fantastic. Good stuff. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, thank you for sort of taking a little bit of time to come and see what the current challenges are facing the technology sector, and also how we're tackling this shift in development. Some of these things that you're going to see may already be trends that you're starting to come across that you can certainly relate to. Others might not be so obvious. I suppose the aim for the next 30 minutes really is to give you some real applicable ideas of how to change or perhaps just refine your strategy to embrace in development culture. So quite a light agenda today. We're going to start with a little welcome and an introduction. Then we're going to look at why. So why are you here? Why change? And fundamentally, why does it matter? Why should you change? Then we're going to look at the future. We're going to get our crystal ball out and we're going to see what the future brings and how we can future-proof our strategies now. Then we're going to have a look at how we can change. How can we make this change work for you? And number 5, what to do now? What is the next step? So a little welcome. My name's Sam Parsons. I'm sort of heading the technology sector here within the corporate team at MindTools. You guys might have come across MindTools. I'm sure a lot of you probably have. You've probably seen our consumer site, some of our fantastic resources. Some of you might have even used them yourselves. I know a lot of people I speak to have. What we do here in the corporate team is we package those fantastic resources into a solution for organizations to help them create learning culture, to help them have happy learners who enjoy successful careers and who can contribute positively to the success of their organization. My focus, as I said, is with the tech sector, which is why I'm speaking to all of you guys here today. And we work predominantly within the US market because the US are actually a little bit more ahead of the curve than other parts of the world. Some of you are already starting to implement some of these changes, a little bit more forward thinking, which is great. So here today, we're going to discuss this revolution in learning. We're going to talk about what you can do about it. And we're going to leave you with not only some valuable insights, but fundamentally a clear motivation to make those changes. If I was just here to give you some facts and figures, I probably wouldn't waste your time and I would have sent that in an email. I think this is all about informing you and yeah, trying to get a motivation to make a change. And as well, perhaps, to begin a partnership with MindTools as you embark on this new journey. So we move on to the why. 3 important whys here. So let's start with why are you attending the webinar? We're going to gain, or you're going to hopefully gain, a new perspective on the future of learning. You're going to have some clear ideas about what you're going to do about it. And we're going to discuss the changes that you have seen with others. Perhaps not today, but perhaps in a personal conversation after the webinar or on another day. But we're also going to offer you help. It would be very rude of us to explain all this lovely stuff to you and not offer you help, as this is the world that we're in. So of course we're going to offer you that. We're also going to discover what else is there, what does the future bring, and what are the next steps here. So we're going to start off with a quote from the Global Head of Learning at NCR. This states that there are three main reasons why things are changing. These three things are the speed of business, the global workforce, and the new generation of employees that's coming through. I can't stress enough how important these three factors are to the technology industry. And in fact, the technology industry has actually been fundamental in creating some of these changes. The speed of business has improved. The majority of that is down to technological revolution and technological innovations. And all of us here, everybody in this room has a global workforce. And in fact, the new generations of employees that are coming through are fundamental to the technology sector as well. We absolutely thrive off of young, innovative talent. So it's incredibly important to us. So here are the four things we're going to focus on. We're going to have a look at, as I mentioned before, the new generations that are coming through. The new generations have an incredibly different approach to work life. They want different things. They have a very different way of engaging with us as organizations, and this needs to be embraced. Next down, we have technology. Technology has vastly improved over the last sort of 10 years, and the new generations that are coming through, linking to that first point, have been brought up using this technology. Technology is incredibly accessible. And with the current trends, with things like the Internet of Things, self-driving cars, wearable technology, technology is becoming more and more integrated into our day-to-day lives at an ever-increasing rate. And we need to make sure that as an L&D function or as a development function, we're embracing this and coming on board. The next one down here is talent. This is one of the most important things for the tech industry, I feel. The technology industry itself is driven by talent, and whether that's you guys, some of you guys here today who are in the sort of Silicon Valley, some of you sort of innovative Silicon Valley guys, or some of the more long-established firms, telecommunications, talent is an absolute pinnacle of what we do. The thing with top talent now in 2017 is that they want to know where they're headed constantly. Career progression simply isn't just a nice thing to have anymore. It is definitely a necessity. And this is especially true for the millennial generation. Most millennials don't even plan on staying with one company for their entire lives. In fact, most of them actually want to work for themselves one day. As Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, puts it, he calls it tours of duty. So if your organization is currently one of the tours that one of these young, talented individuals are on, if that tour isn't developing them professionally as well as technically within your organization, they are simply going to leave and go to another company that will. There are plenty of them out there. Now, not only does this lose organizations valuable talent, which from everybody here today, including myself being in more of a development role, that's what we're focused on. We don't want to lose that top talent that we've worked hard to improve and has bloomed into something fantastic. But from a C-suite point of view, your CEO might be interested in the fact that Burton have calculated that voluntary turnover alone costs the average organization $109,676 per person. So I just want to reiterate that number, $109,676 per person. And that's for the average organization. Most of the people here today, your organizations are a little more than average. So that figure is probably a lot larger for most of you. So yeah, here we see the increasingly diverse workforce. Already more than 40% are Gen Y, and this is going to increase year on year as the nature of that is. That's something we can't stop. There's absolutely no way of stopping people from getting older, and we have no choice but to embrace this if we want to be successful. Here is actually a resource from Mind Tools, and the reason I put this up here is it really shows how important some of the characteristics of the new generations are. So as you can see here towards the right, as you look at millennial and above, there are some really key points to take from a development perspective. The new generations, they're self-directed, they're goal-focused, they want to multitask, and they want to know what's next. I think the two things to take from this are that they're self-directed and they want to know what's next. They're the most important two parts here. They want to know, what can I learn that's going to develop me as quickly as I can so that I can step up the ladder and get on to the next thing? How can I progress? They don't want to spend 15 or 20 years climbing the ladder anymore. They want to get going. They're eager, as it says on the bottom there. So as it says on the right, to put this simply, to enable these people to thrive, what we need to do is supply them learning that's vibrant, lively, engaging, quick, relevant, and easily available. Now we're going on to employee overload. So you can see here that only 13% of workers have a good work-life balance, and that 94% of us, probably not going to surprise many of you, that 94% of us actually work above the hours that we're paid for. Okay, that's great. That shows everybody's stressed and everyone works loads, and we all know that. What does that mean for us? What that means is that 66% of people feel that they're too busy to do more learning. And in fact, 62% of those people are putting learning right to the bottom of the pile. From an L&D perspective, not a great place to be. But what you want to take from this is that they do want to learn. As you can actually see at the bottom figure here, even though people feel they're too busy, 46% of people are still needing to use self-directed learning during their working hours at their desks. And it'll become a little bit more obvious as we go through why this is. So here we have a fantastic quote from Bursting by Deloitte, which fundamentally says that the C-suite of large organizations, of high impact organizations like all of yours here today, understand clearly that if they're not giving people the skill set and the development that they need, their innovative, forward-thinking plans are not going to come to fruition. And this is interesting because from a learning function, sometimes we perhaps struggle to convince some of the CEOs or CFOs or whoever that development is important. And what this shows is that actually the heads of large organizations know that their ambitious plans cannot be implemented if people do not have the skills that are required to put that into practice. So crystal ball time, the future, it's changing, and what does that look like? So here we can see that today's workforce are learning sometimes and all the time. If you look at the bottom here, these are all the pieces of learning that are currently self-directed. So people are looking at the web. They're having peer and team interaction. They're looking at videos. They're looking at blogs. They're looking at books. They're downloading apps. And this is all off their own back and all directed completely by themselves. It's a little bit worrying that it's not until we get halfway up the graph that we start to see some more of the traditional L&D-led practices. And why I've shown you this graph and why is this important? Well, what we need to do as a development function, as an L&D team, we need to move all that stuff at the bottom up to the top. We need to make sure that we're the ones facilitating all of that learning. If that's what people want, which it clearly is, if that's what they're going to do, we need to be the ones to supply them with that learning. So here, a little bit more on the future. The stat in the middle, little bit worrying at first glance. 79% of learning coming from outside of our learning and development functions or talent development functions. Now you might look at that and feel, yeah, that's a little bit worrying. I think what I want to say on this is, in fact, we should look at that as encouraging. What that means is there's actually 79% of untapped learning that we can supply our learners with, which is actually a great place to be. It means, yeah, it's a really great standpoint for us if you actually look at it as on a positive twist. But people are learning differently. That's why so much learning is coming from outside of our functions. People have different expectations now. They want to learn. Their preference is social and search. They want to interact with their peers and they want to be able to search. They want to go onto Google and have things on demand, easily accessible. And at the end of the day, why wouldn't they? So here we have pull versus push, prescribed versus learner-led. So learning is fundamentally shifting, and we must ensure that learning is at least partially led by the learner. We can have a little look back to some of the stats that we saw during employee overload. Those stats said that 97% of managers felt that self-directed learning improved their business performance. And 83% of those people prefer self-directed learning to prescribed learning. And why is this? Let's look at that. People are hyper busy. They need to know if they're giving up some of their valuable time. It needs to be relevant to them. It needs to progress them in their daily lives or their careers or whatever it is. That learning simply has to be, it can't be a blanketed approach anymore. You simply can't take people away from their work for an entire day if that is not specifically relevant to them. And how do you do that? Fundamentally, you share the control. A good point to make here is that I'm not trying to tell people that they need to hand over all of the control. What I'm saying is we need to share that control. It needs to be shared between us and them. So when do people access this self-directed learning? A really interesting thing here is that largest orange circle on the right there. It shows that people access self-directed learning when they need it, at the point of need. Now, if we're not supplying them with resources that are available on demand within minutes, within seconds, they need to be able to find what they're after, then they're going to go somewhere else. It's as simple as that. Another interesting point here is the second one there, the during evenings and weekends. So fantastic. People are developing themselves outside of the workplace. That's brilliant. But what we need to do is make sure that as a development function, we're the people facilitating that learning. And also there, during work hours at my desk, is learning available at someone's desk? Are they going to have to log on to something but do a course that's going to take them 2 hours to complete? Is that really effective? They're doing something at their desk. They need something short, sharp, and powerful. We need to be able to supply them with that when the need comes. So how do we make this change? How can you make this change? And how will it work for you? So the role of L&D, and I know some of you guys are a little bit more on the talent sort of side of things, so L&D and talent development, the role is certainly changing. I think one of the key things to note here is to go back to the quote about the C-suite. I think it's an incredibly encouraging place to be for anyone in the development function, because we're more important now than we've ever been. You know, CEOs understand that we are absolutely vital in them implementing their ambitious ideas. So what do we need to do as an L&D function to facilitate that? We need to empower the individual to take ownership of their development. We need to supply them with the right size resources in the right format at the right time. And whether this is a short article or a coaching session, the point is it needs to be specific to them, relevant to them, and delivered in a way that's right for them, and also just weaved into their daily workflow. This can't interrupt important work. You simply can't take people away, as I say, for days on end if things aren't working and it's not relevant specifically to their needs. It has to be personalized. This next point, ROI, something that we speak about a lot with people, and we fundamentally need to shift away from the traditional mindset of ROI. We need to stop thinking about what will this training course directly gain me back financially. What we need to do, as the quote on the right sort of states, is that we need to match learning data with other employee data. We need to match it with things like sales performance, retention rates, career growth, leadership development. Are our employees looking happier? Have they said they like their learning more? It's not something you can always put an immediate financial figure on, and I think it's wrong to do that and derogatory to what we're trying to do. So that's another shift that we really need to do. And finally here, embrace technological revolution. Now, it might make you laugh, it might seem obvious as we're all in the technology sector, but what we actually need to do is make sure that we are actually embracing technology to facilitate all this wonderful learning. I'm sure all of you being in the technology sector, you're more than happy to do this, but let's make sure that we are actually doing this. So here we have a case study from Burton by Deloitte's Human Capital Trends 2016. This is a case study on MasterCard. And what they wanted to do, they wanted to move away from a traditional payment processing company and become a technology company. Some of you probably have heard of this already. How did they implement this? You can see here they wanted to reinvent their learning. They needed to cater for the millennials coming through, and they wanted to focus on showing people what they can learn rather than telling them what to learn. It says here they provided them access to resources, tools and connections to enable them to do their jobs and build their careers better. Now, how do I know that they did all this and all this case study is true and relevant? It's because they actually use Mind Tools to do that. So what to do now? What can we do now? What we're going to do, what I'm going to do to help you is, first of all, I'm going to send you the slide deck for the presentation. I'm going to send you the recording, and please do share that around your colleagues. That'd be fantastic. I very much encourage that. We're actually going to provide you with a link to experience the Mind Tools Connect platform for yourself, so you can see what some of this on-demand, right resource, right time, right format. What does that look like when it's actually in practice? And we're also going to send you a survey. I'd absolutely love to see some of your views on the webinar and on some of the content discussed. That would be fantastic. And here, hopefully, you've been inspired to start a partnership with Mind Tools. We can arrange a simple kickoff conversation with your dedicated Mind Tools consultant, who, for you lucky tech guys, is me. What this conversation would be about is to explore, let's explore your individual situations. This could have quite easily been a 2-hour, 3-hour presentation, but keeping in line with the subject matter, I wanted it to be short, sharp, and powerful, just like the learning that we're saying your learners need to embrace. So let's get together and go into a little bit more detail about your individual situations. Don't worry, it's not going to charge you any kind of consulting costs for that, but it would be brilliant to see what what you're doing and how you're already perhaps embracing some of this. So now I'm going to open the floor to a couple of questions. If anybody's got any questions they'd like to ask now, of course you're welcome to save questions for a private discussion. That's absolutely fine. But if you've got anything you'd like to ask now, please feel free to use the chat box. We'll spend the next few minutes going over a couple of those questions. Okay, so we got a question here. So why should we partner with MindTools instead of lynda.com? Of course, I won't say who asked the question, but that's a great question. Why not ask it? I think it's something we can go in personally a little bit deeper on. But I think my response to that is quite simple, really. Is that what we do and what we offer in the way we offer it is very different to Lynda. What we offer is short, sharp, on-demand, easily accessible, powerful resources, and also we're directly what we do is a lot more focused. We focus purely on career skills, career excellence. So we're extremely laser focused with what we do. We don't waste any time doing anything else, and that's why we're experts at what we do. So I hope that answered your question there. And of course, we can more than happy to go over that with you personally. Okay, so just probably if anybody's got any final questions, if not, then I'll wrap up. Okay. Oh, here we go. Got one more coming through. Bear with me. Okay, yeah, so great question. How do other companies help employees set aside time for career learning? We actually we are working and have worked with one of the leading television broadcasters in the UK. And what they did is they didn't have a learning culture, and they came to us to help them on this journey. And what they actually did is they put the MindTools solution in place. So they got the right resources available, easily accessible for everybody. And then what they did is they allocated 58 minutes per week to their employees to allow them to do some self-directed learning. Now what this did, which is one of the fundamental things of creating a learning culture, which we didn't touch on today, but is an extremely important point, which I'm more than happy to go through with you all individually. One of the key things with creating learning culture is building trust. Trust between the organization and the individual. The trust that they're allowed to learn. Everybody's, worried that if their manager or their vice president or whoever it is comes along and sees them doing something that's not directly related to their workload, are they going to be in trouble? Are they going to be looked down upon for future, for future career progression? Are they going to be seen as a slacker or whatever? Allowing that 58 minutes, just mandating that, puts the trust there and allows the individual to know that for 58 minutes of my week, I'm not only allowed, but I'm expected to do learning, but that learning is actually going to be directed by me. So it's not forced. It's relevant, and yeah, they had some absolutely amazing results with that, and we're still working very closely with them. So yeah, hope that that answers your question. Fantastic. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to wrap up there as we're coming to the end of the time. Again, thank you all very much for coming today. I hope that this has been insightful. Of course, yeah, the content here was very, very short and compressed. So very excited to find out individually what this has meant to you, what you're already doing, what perhaps this is it motivated you to change. Please expect those things that I mentioned. I'll be sending you over the recording and the slides very shortly, and yeah, very excited to connect with you guys and see what sort of things you're putting in place. Thanks a lot. Take care.